and say thank you to all of you for joining us today, whether you're here live or watching a copy of the recording. My name is Kristen McKnight. I'm an employer relations partner here at WGU, and I'm so excited today to be welcoming our partners at the Cleveland Clinic. Uh, Welcome. Thank you so much for joining Farah and Peter. If you'd like to introduce yourselves.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. Really excited to be here speaking with Western Governor University students. I've heard really great things about you guys. And typically, my colleague Zach Nichols is the one that does presentations for WGU. However, he had another conflicting meeting today, so I'm jumping in for him. Really excited to be speaking with all of you, and please see you all at the Cleveland Clinic. Peter.
Hi, thanks guys for having us. I'm Peter Rosman, I'm nurse manager here at Cleveland Clinic main campus in Cleveland, Ohio. I manage a 34-bed transplant step-down nursing unit where we care for kidney, liver, and intestine transplant patients. Work closely with our talent acquisition and recruiting team for these reach out opportunities and programs with our colleges locally and across the U.S. So it's really awesome to be able to talk with you guys here today, answer questions, and be involved in your career journey. So I'm happy to be here with you guys today.
Awesome. Now let me know, Kristen, when you'd like me to share my screen whenever you're ready.
Yeah, you can go right ahead. It should be kind of at the bottom of the page. There should be like a button that says share.
Awesome. I think we had one person say that the volume was really low. If I need to put my volume up, let me know. But I think we should be good to go. So once again, thank you all for having me. Thank you, WGU team, for having Cleveland Clinic once again to speak with your students. Here at Cleveland Clinic, there are so many great opportunities that you can be considered for. And I know today Zach wanted to really go over resume writing and LinkedIn, as those are really important parts of the application process. If you guys can start putting in the chat for me, when are you expected to graduate? That gives us an idea of, how much time you may have left in your programs, to kind of gauge and see where you are even in the process. If you're thinking about applying next month, exciting. If you're maybe thinking about student nurse opportunities, so really, really excited. Students, correct? I'm seeing some answers here in the chat. Excellent. 4. Good, 2025. And you know what? Before you know it, time's gonna fly. We're gonna be there. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. At the bottom of this screen, you'll see a QR code. This QR code is really just for us to connect with you after today's session, to have a recruiter get in touch with you directly based on whatever programs you're completing. If, let's say, I saw someone wrote that they're completing a master's in leadership, so it'll ask you for your name and contact information and your areas of interest. So that way we know exactly opportunities. So it's briefly going to start. Given that we have our nurse manager, Peter, with us, we're going to talk about our nurse residency program a little bit. Here's some tips from the hiring process directly from a hiring manager. Then we'll review some resume writing tips and LinkedIn tips to communicate with recruiters, hiring managers of all sorts from all industries. So again, I'll leave this up for a few more seconds with the QR code, so that way you can get connected with the recruiter directly after this meeting and potentially schedule an interview. We have data analytics, excellent. Lots of really good programs. So once again, I'm Farah. In my role at Cleveland Clinic, officially, I am the University Relationship Manager representing the Southwest region of the United States. We have 5 hospitals in Florida. A lot of people don't know that. You hear Cleveland Clinic and you think Cleveland, Ohio, rightfully so, which is where our main campuses are. 15 hospitals up there. And then we have 5 in Florida. I am in Port St. Lucie, Florida. You may not have heard of it, if that's okay. We're a small town and still growing. So if, let's say, you are from Florida, I think I saw someone put that in the chat, they're from Florida, or if you're interested in relocating to Florida, I'm your girl. essentially the relationship builder, connecting you to our recruiters, connecting you to our hiring managers for the different opportunities that we have. Typically, when you apply on a website, you submit your application and then you wait, right? You wait until someone calls you. In my role, I kind of help to facilitate that process, that application process, to kind of shorten it a bit. So that way we can connect you once again directly with a recruiter for opportunities so they can learn more about you, because the application can only, right? So the recruiter is the one who'll be able to get to know more about you to be able to schedule you then for an interview with the hiring manager. Also, you're a career enthusiast. So if, let's say, you have questions, maybe you're scared to ask the recruiter, you know, it's no holds barred with me. You're free to ask me questions that you may not necessarily want to ask up front, right? So we're here to advocate on your behalf to ensure that you are still going through the application process, again, based on our areas of needs. And ultimately just helping you all find what matters most to you. And that's one of the questions that you'll probably hear from our recruiters. What matters most to you? Is it the pay? Is it the commute? Is it the benefits, right? We really want to know what is here as you potentially get onboarded with Cleveland Clinic is the support that you will receive within the organization. Support, support, support. We try our very best to provide you with as much support as needed for you to continue to grow within the organization, whether you are in a nursing role or a leadership position. There is support that is provided. And before we move on, I really want to hear a little bit from Peter about your journey with Cleveland Clinic, becoming a nurse manager, and what you like the most about working at Cleveland Clinic.
Absolutely. So I've been putting some stuff in the chats there just to stay engaged with it. I went to Cleveland State University, and when I was in nursing school, which nursing was not my first career choice, I started engineering. I moved around majors a bit. Nursing kind of just grabbed my heart and was like with that aha moment that made me realize this is my track, this is my journey. But I worked at the Cleveland Clinic at various unlicensed roles until I graduated from nursing school. And they really helped support, even from before I was a nurse, my financial stability with the tuition reimbursement program they had. With, I mean, they paid me to work there, so I was getting money to, for my work, my talents. Graduated from nursing in 2011 with my bachelor's degree from Cleveland State, and was working on a colorectal surgery floor. Never thought that's where I would start my nursing career, but it was one of those things where the opportunity was there. Everything seemed to click in the right direction, and I took advantage of it and went there. 2 years on that floor, I moved then to an assistant manager position. I was offered a position. I didn't seek it out. It kind of was presented to me to say, hey, you have some talents and skills here that we think might be able to be developed. You should consider this job. And took the opportunity again that was offered to step into the transplant assistant nurse manager role. A couple years there, got started on my master's degree from Chamberlain University, and I accepted the nurse manager role. I'm interviewed and accepted it on the unit that I'm on now, on G101. So through the years at the Cleveland Clinic, I've been able to, they've helped me become my best nurse, my best leader, to support not only the unit that I'm working on, but the other people and multidisciplinary teams that I'm involved with and the patients that we care for. The journey hasn't always been easy. We had, the pandemic, we've had short staffing before, we've had challenges with a novice leader, a novice nurse, a novice employee at the organization. But all along the way, the culture, the team, the support, the resources that were provided helped me overcome those and feel like I was a valued part of the team and not just a number among the masses. I really think that the Cleveland Clinic, for as large as it is, does a good job of making you feel important. What work you're doing is valuable, and we need you here to support us to get to that end result of that world-class care that we promised our patients. I can't think of just one best thing, like you said, Farah, to ask about what I enjoy about the Cleveland Clinic. It's a big healthcare system, and with that, the resources that we have are extraordinary. From when I was a new grad, I never had that concern or worry that I was unsupported, that I didn't have a resource to fall back on or a safety net to catch me if I needed help with something. As an assistant manager and as a leader, I knew I could count on my peers and my experienced staff to guide me in the right direction to what the unit needed, to what the organization wanted me to develop on. And then now as a nurse manager, just seeing the positive that we're doing, the influence that we have to make positive change for our patients and our other caregivers, really puts pride in my heart. Last week during Nurses Week, I was able to introduce and present excellence awards for two of my caregivers across all of main campus, and that's 15 or 20,000 nurses, I think, that are at the Cleveland Clinic main campus. So of all of those, two of them were mine, and I was able to recognize them for it. And just talking about it and reflecting like where I was along the journey with them was a really powerful moment, and really kind of helped ground me that, boy, the Cleveland Clinic does a lot of good stuff. So that's a little bit about my journey and where I'm at now with it, and I'm absolutely happy to be here again, to talk to you guys and be part of this.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that, Peter. So Cleveland Clinic has been listed in. Peter mentioned, how COVID really shifted the landscape of nursing and the landscape.
Farah, I think your audio cut out. No, can't hear you.
We got nothing, Farah. Give Farah a second here to see if she can coordinate or see what's going on with the audio there. But I can talk to these points a little bit here, if that's okay. See what you can do to get it back up. I don't have the fluid dialogue and conversation, for this, but I've helped with a few of these opportunities, so I can speak to some of it. So like Farah was saying, through COVID, they were really listening. The Cleveland Clinic as an organization saw that the model and the way that we're looking and working with things now needs to shift, needs to change a little bit. So, we can't just establish or try to get staff that are coming in to just be that lifelong, that support, that nurse at the bedside or whatever position you're at from the beginning. So in terms of the financial security that we have here, they have shifted some of the way that we are addressing what needs are of our caregivers, from the tuition reimbursement that I shared about, which is you pay for your course or your schooling while you're in school, and then you submit the fees and they reimburse you for it as long as your grades are at a level that we're looking for. They've shifted it now to loan repayment. We understand that nursing school is expensive and is costly. With the loan repayment program, eligible loans are up to $400 some dollars, I think, or $350 a month to be paid directly to your loan. So instead of having a sign-on bonus or a cash incentive at the beginning when you're starting here, we're looking at how can we invest in our caregivers? How can we invest in the nursing staff that we have here for the journey, not just up front? The bonuses that you might get, that you might see offered, the incentives for coming on board to an area or whatever, you don't get that full amount anyways. I know that's something that might be that eye candy, like, oh, $1,000 or $5,000, whatever. But there's tax on that, and it might come out of a different course. It might come out of a different way down the road. We have market adjustments that we look at. We looked at ourselves and said, oh, wow, nurses in our similar size hospital in other areas might be making a little bit more. We need to increase our rate of pay to be a little more competitive. Let's make that happen. And they made it happen. Merit raises, so raises based on your performance, based on your annual reviews, we include those in there too. We always wish that there's more we could do, and we always strive to see what's the next thing we could do to invest in our financial security and stability with our caregivers. Our benefit packages as well, in terms of retirement and our healthcare, dental, and vision, are really outstanding. I'm a father of three. I'm married. My wife's a nurse. We have three kids. When it comes to those checkups, those appointments, when it comes to those co-pays for whatever you might need, it's really small compared to what other hospitals and insurances in the area are. And I know that I'm getting that Cleveland Clinic world-class care. So looking at it past just $1 per hour that you might be making, the whole package is really comprehensive. Support beyond the bedside. A couple things that I can speak to about this is the learning opportunities that we have for our new grads are pretty great. We have a nurse residency program that is coordinated and calibrated specifically to you as a new nurse when you're coming in here. If you are a new grad, you're coming in and you're working here, you'll be set up with a career coach along the way, a nurse professional development specialist that will help identify strengths of yours, help identify goals for you, and then support you throughout that residency program when you're here. The residency program is over the full year of your new grad position. There it is. And it is catered to what your needs are. Every 6 to 8 weeks in your first year, you'll be set up with a 4 to 6 hour class that'll help guide you through some of the things that you might not have seen in your day-to-day nursing at the bedside or with your orientation and your training. They have Tier 1, which is geared towards your current patient population and what you'll face in that moment. So if you're working on a surgical floor, the surgical specifics. If you're medicine, the medicine specifics. If you're cardiothoracic, specific to that. And there's always that time where you can go and kind of share what your experiences are with others in your cohort or in your residency group to say, oh, we saw this. Oh, you didn't? Let me tell you about this. So you get that peer education too. And then in Tier 2, that professional journey continues with individualized opportunities where you can grow and enhance your critical thinking skills. And this goes past the residency program too. You're able to take additional courses if it's leadership you're looking at, or technical skills, or a certification that you want at a certain point. With our Global Leadership and Learning Institute, you're able to find those courses and help develop it independently for you. This map is always interesting whenever we talk about it, because you really get to see the amount of caregivers that we have at the Cleveland Clinic. This is thousands of people that we have worldwide. You see London, Abu Dhabi, you see Toronto, out of the country. You see stuff in the United States, Ohio, Nevada, Florida. You see all these places. These are not just numbers. These are people who are helping to deliver that world-class care. And with that care that we give to our patients and their visitors and families, that word of mouth spreads. So again, this is the point in time where I usually say, I don't feel like I'm just a number, because I truly feel like I'm making a difference and an impact in the lives of my nurses who work with me, my aides, my unit coordinators who work with me, but the patients too. We just had leadership rounds today where leaders from other areas came to our unit and wanted to talk to nurses to see what they could do to improve the organization. They talk to patients to say, hey, what can we do to be better? And as a nurse at the Cleveland Clinic, you have an opportunity to do that as well. Go to the next slide if you want, Farah. As student nurses, there's opportunities for that development within your education time as well. Ooh, I'm hearing a little reverb there, Farah. I don't know if that's what we need. But I don't know, we have some students here that are graduating in 2024, 2025. You don't have to work in a hospital while you're in nursing school to get like a leg up or experience in with nursing. You'll get that in your clinicals. But if you're looking for something to give you some more experience or a better insight on what your healthcare area might look like, we have opportunities for PRN or part-time. Shoot, if you can swing a full-time gig, we have the full-time opportunities for students as well. But with a student PRN position, it's very flexible around your school schedule. There's 64 hours that are necessary over the course of the year. So you don't need to cram it in at each week and you get certain hours, or each month. During the course of the year, between May and September is usually when we have the most of the hours that are made when you're on break or when you're off of school. But you're able to do your patient care and work side by side with nurses in the healthcare setting. Part-time and full-time, you are eligible for the tuition assistance program and the reimbursement that we have for it. So there's different tiers, there's different information for that. For undergrad, it's $5,000 a year, I believe. And then if you're pursuing a master's degree and you're working within the Cleveland Clinic, I think it's up to $7,500 a year. So it's not just, chump change. It's not just, here's a couple $100 to help you with whatever. It's over the course of the year, you get up to $5,000 or $7,500. We do ask that you work a year back though with the money that you take from the organization. And I look at it kind of as job security. I did that for my bachelor's and my master's, paid very little out of pocket to complete it. And it really was a less stressful time to be in school. You're not worrying about the money on top of it. You know you could just focus on your work and then the schoolwork and then know that the money will come there too. If you're a junior in the nursing program that you're at, there's a nurse associates or nurse associate extern programs that they have, which is a 10-week full-time externship paid where you're working side by side, one-on-one with a nurse in a unit that is identified for you or with experience days along the way. Next week, we're starting with 2 on my floor, and I'm always super excited about this because these are engaged and excited, motivated nurses who want to work at the Cleveland Clinic, who are given their all over the course of the summer to focus and direct their efforts on this. Ohio and Florida has available options here for it. It is something you need to interview for, and the nurse manager then will screen you and will work with the nursing talent acquisition team to get you synced up for it. Kind of think of it as an enhanced practicum where you are at the hip with the nurse, doing skills that you might not be able to do in your clinicals under the license of the nurse with the nurse. I did something similar when I was an undergrad at Cleveland State. And that really did help me, shorten my orientation time, gave me that comfort, that professional confidence when I'm in at the bedside too.
And one other thing I just want to mention too is that WGU, since we are partners with Cleveland Clinic, we also offer a scholarship to students who are working at Cleveland Clinic while they're working on their degree. And I believe it's up to $1,000 per year.
Cool.
For a total of 4,000. So I'll put the link in the chat if that's something anybody's interested in. It has a deadline on there of June 30th, but it will start again on July 1st. So it will not actually expire on June 30th, just so everybody knows.
Thought I saw a hand that went up there.
Were you able to hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Yes.
Okay. I was able to log in through my phone, so
Cool.
I hope that there's
Alrighty.
echo.
We got you back on audio then. Fantastic.
So, thank you so much. And you know what, Peter, you're doing such a fantastic job. I'm like, you know what, let me just have him finish. No,
Happy to do it. Like I said, I've been here at the clinic for 15 years now this July, and I don't see myself not being here, if that makes sense. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Do we know if we have a question? Is it possible to send individual message directly to Peter?
Yes, you can. When you're in the chat, you can select either to everyone, or you can click on there and scroll down to look for the presenters or the names. Oh, if I'm not in there for whatever reason. Oh, maybe because I'm looking at it. You should be able to drop down the box and see my name. Oh, you don't see it. Okay. If you want, I can
I'll look
put
at
my
that
email in
tomorrow.
here.
I'll make it so that you can send him a message.
Perfect. There you go. Thanks, Kristen.
Awesome. So just to continue what Peter was mentioning about the benefits that are available, the incentives that you can essentially take advantage of. Cleveland Clinic really wanted to find ways to incentivize our students and potential caregivers with different opportunities to help them if they decide to pursue continuing education. So if you do go back to school, you can take advantage of tuition reimbursement. For nurses, we had a student loan repayment program. Again, that is specific to nurses that pays up to $5,250 annually for up to 3 years for a BSN degree, and that would be available after 90 days. That's something that if, let's say, you do have loans on the back end and you are going back to school, maybe to pursue a master's, you can take advantage of both at the same time. Tuition reimbursement would be available on day one, however, versus the 90 days for the student loan repayment, again, for RN specifically. I mentioned that we have different campuses, 5 in Florida, in addition to our hospitals in Ohio and 1 hospital in Nevada. We are also international. So if you've been working with Cleveland Clinic for 2 years, let's say as a nurse, and you decide you want to go to Abu Dhabi, we have a hospital in Abu Dhabi, we have a hospital in Toronto, we have a hospital in London as well. So in order to be considered for those international opportunities, you would have to be working with Cleveland Clinic for 2 years. But we do have a team dedicated to the international process. They take care of any visas, housing, childcare, you name it, they take care of it. They're dedicated specifically for that. And again, if let's say you're relocating to, you're from Florida, you're relocating to Ohio or vice versa, because you're over 100 miles away you're moving, you can also qualify for relocation assistance. So those are good benefits, good financial incentives you can take advantage of simultaneously working as a caregiver with Cleveland Clinic. Now, before we move on to the next part, do we have any questions in the chat regarding what we've shared? Is that relocation only between Cleveland locations? Yes, that is correct. So if you are, not necessarily Cleveland locations, if let's say you're living in Arizona and you get hired to work in Ohio, because your home state or your home city is over 100 miles away from a Cleveland Clinic location that you'll be working at, you would qualify for relocation incentives.
And I know that there's like a tiered structure of how much the incentive is too. And I've had nurses who have taken advantage of that and come into Cleveland from Canada, from where was Washington State, so pretty far away from Cleveland. And we're able to take advantage. And it helps with the moving, it helps with the cost of travel and all those things. So it's a nice option to have for it. But if you're living in, just in the suburbs outside of Cleveland and you're like, oh, yeah, relocate a little closer, it's like, that's on your own time. Yeah.
Right. You're going to have to be a minimum of 100 miles away. And as Peter mentioned, could be from additional states, country. As long as you're working for Cleveland Clinic, we'll be moving to one of our, or near one of our campuses. So we're going to go ahead and move on and start talking about growing your network through LinkedIn. How many of you, via the chat, how many of you have a LinkedIn currently? And yes or no? Yes. Awesome. So for the most part, a lot of you are familiar with LinkedIn. You're familiar in what it is. It's a job board. But more than that, it's a networking website. So oftentimes we've been asked in the past, what is the difference between Indeed versus LinkedIn? Indeed is essentially where you can go and put your resume, recruiters will find it and contact you. LinkedIn really gives you an edge in that you get to connect with people. It is a people connector. Now more than ever, we're seeing the need for connection, that personal connection, especially given that with such a need for, one, being nurses, respiratory therapists, and healthcare systems, right? Candidates have options, right? You have plenty of options. You're applying everywhere. You're interviewing multiple places. And you're probably getting multiple offers as well for some of you. So because of that, having a connection with candidates for us is really important, ensuring that we're nurturing the connection from the very beginning, when you're a student nurse perhaps, or as you're applying through the process, right? So that way, by the time that we move on to the offer stage, you would want to come work for Cleveland Clinic. And LinkedIn really gives you the opportunity to connect with different people, whether it's the hiring manager, the HR director, the recruiter. It gives you that leg up to find out who's working where, right? So should I have a LinkedIn? There are over 800 million users on LinkedIn right now getting jobs. How did I find this job? Through LinkedIn, because Zach shared it. And I had connected with him prior, as I had been working in higher ed before joining Cleveland Clinic. Because he posted a position, I saw it. I said, hey, Zach, I'm really interested in this. I'm relocating, and this would be like a great fit for me. So it's really a testament of what you can do and the power of connection on LinkedIn. It's real people behind these screens. Hopefully not bots, because I know there's a lot of bots on the internet these days and age too. But it gives you the opportunity to really personalize your connection with the people that you would essentially be working with, right? Every minute, 6 people is hired. So there's a lot of opportunities that exist, and LinkedIn is such a great place to start. First things first, in order to ensure that your profile, so if you have Facebook and you don't have a LinkedIn, think of it as a professional Facebook page. You get to share status updates, you get to add a picture, you get to share your resume, certifications, awards that you've won, right? And the first things first, it is said that for those with a complete profile to include a headshot, shoulders up typically, professional headshot. It doesn't have to come from a professional cameraman. If you want to take something on your phone and you're scrubbed, that's okay. But it is said that those with a full profile to include a headshot, information about your background, your work experience, you're 7 times more likely to be found by just having a profile picture. There are certain functions that recruiters that have a recruiter profile, they can do. They can find out who's working where, what are their skills and certification by typing in certain keywords, because again, they have additional functions on LinkedIn. LinkedIn also has an option now where you can add a banner that says open to work. So as recruiters are going on your page, they can see right away that you're immediately available for work, right? You also have the opportunity to add in a attention-grabbing headline. So if, let's say, you're a new graduate nurse or you're completing your program and you're interested in, let's say, working for the ICU, you'll have the opportunity to add something really to the point. Compassionate BSN graduate seeking residency opportunity where I can provide compassionate patient care, something like that, right? Something short, sweet, to the point, and I believe there's a character limit. So again, you want to keep it short, sweet, and simple. So that way the recruiter knows, hey, this person is in the ICU, for example, right? And if, let's say, you're open to multiple specialties, that's something that you can also add even in your summary section of your profile page. But ultimately, it is one of the best ways in this day and age to build your network, connect with us after this meeting, right? Because by connecting with us, it'll also allow you the opportunity to connect with other people who are working at Cleveland Clinic. Next thing you know, you're going to be probably connected to all of us, all right? So great way to connect with recruiters, hiring managers. One of the tips that I always offer to candidates, if you already had an interview scheduled and you were provided the names of the people that you will be interviewing with, do a quick search on LinkedIn to see if they have a LinkedIn. So that way, you'll have something to mention during the interview. Almost like an icebreaker. Hey, I noticed that you went to OSU. I went to OSU as well. That's something that you can use as part of the interview process to better connect with the people that you'll be interviewing with. You also have the opportunity to join groups on LinkedIn. If you're really interested in following updates about Cleveland Clinic, you can follow Cleveland Clinic, the hospital. You can follow different groups. There is an RN UGrad residency page, for example, that anybody from anywhere can join. So things like that. There's so many different opportunities and so many benefits of having a LinkedIn. Again, use that as part of your network. Your instructors, your clinical preceptors, perhaps, they can all have a LinkedIn, perhaps, and it'd be a great way to continue to connect with them down the line. Now, when it comes to the communication piece, because there are so many active members on a daily basis, you can imagine recruiters may be getting emails all the time, right? So in order to make sure that your communication is effective and that you're getting a response from recruiters, you want to ensure that you have a strategy in mind. Going in, outreach. You should be making anywhere from 5 to 7 outreaches for especially your RNs. Because there's such a shortage, you may be getting contacted as well, as long as your profile is updated with a specific skills. So if you're looking at job descriptions, they're asking for specific skills, specific certifications, and you have these things, add it on your LinkedIn. This is how the recruiters and hiring managers are going to find you on there. Canned messages. What are canned messages? So because there's a shortage in some positions, you may be getting a copy-pasted message from a recruiter. That's not very personal, right? And that'll allow you the opportunity to know who's really trying to get to know you versus who's not, who's barely looking at your profile and just the RN. Right? So in the same way, if you're reaching out to a recruiter, try to do some research. Say, hey, I noticed that you have a position, a specific position available at your Ohio location. I'd be interested in learning more about this role as my background is in this. great way to connect with the recruiter or a hiring manager. They're more likely to take the time out of their day to set up a meeting or set up an initial screening or an interview to speak with you more about the opportunity. And if, let's say, you're getting messages from a recruiter and you're not interested, it's okay to say I'm not interested. Otherwise, they're going to keep trying to reach out. Again, there's a shortage for a lot of different positions right now. So if you're not interested, it's okay to say I'm not interested at this time. I already have an offer, but it never hurts to hear more about a position, especially if you haven't secured anything yet. Certainly doesn't hurt. It gives you the opportunity to find out about a different organization, compare it to maybe another organization that you may be interviewing at, right? So do try to connect with as many people as possible. And always be connecting. Think about your action statements. You'll have a summary section where you can add some action statements. And think of LinkedIn really as something like a symbiotic relationship. It's not just, I'm trying to get a job and that's it. What can you contribute to the organization? What can you contribute to Cleveland Clinic? Right? If you're interested in the data analyst position and you see a position available, how are you going to contribute to this role? Mention these things in your resume. Mention them. If you have a cover letter, mention them in your cover letter. Mention it on your LinkedIn. That's all great information for the recruiter to know in advance, all right? And of course, you always want to be as professional as possible because word of mouth is the thing, all right? Everybody knows somebody, and I'm not mistaken, there used to be 6 degrees of separation, which is probably down to 4 or 5 in this day and age with the digital age that we're in. So you want to always ensure that you're professional. At Cleveland Clinic, we do have an online job board. You can go to jobs.clevelandclinic.org and submit your resume for a position that you may see that's open. You can filter by job profile. You don't have to submit references or a cover letter, but I personally always encourage a cover letter, specifically because if, let's say, there are 5 openings for a position and we have 50 candidates for it, right? Cover letter really gives you a leg up in that it gives you the opportunity to share more information about you. And 3 questions that I usually recommend that you answer in a cover letter: who are you, right? Talk about your background information. So where you completed your education, what degree did you obtain, what certifications do you have, right? So who are you? Why are you interested in Cleveland Clinic? So it requires a little bit of research. What is their mission statement? And how does your core values align with Cleveland Clinic's core values of operating with safety and integrity and compassion? And last but not least, why should we hire you? So this is where, again, you mentioned those 3 strengths, 3 core skills that you have that would make you a really good fit
for this particular role. Right? Do make sure that you're attaching your resume. That's important. And if you are applying to an RN position, make sure that you let us know what location and if you have a specialty preference. I think my computer audio is working now. Do you guys hear an echo?
I do. Yeah, I think you might be back online.
Let me see here. Can you hear me? Is it still echoing?
Still echoing.
Still echoing, yes.
That's really interesting. I'm going to wrap it up then, but I do have here an example of a resume that you all can review. Peter, if you have some additional tips that you can share, I'm going to go back on mute.
Sure.
Just so we don't continue to hear this echo.
All right. So when we're looking at resumes, I think a lot of people tend to overthink it. And I think that's something that we don't necessarily look at so much from a hiring manager perspective. This is a nice sample that we have on the presentation screen. Gives you what you need, a nice objective, the name at the top. Hey, I know who you are, John Doe. Great. I'll look for a John when you're coming in to interview in person. What your objective is, what do you want to do? What are you looking for? And then from there, really, as a manager, I'm doing a quick scan. I'm not looking for the detailed written out paragraphs of stuff. A cover letter might be for that, or an initial reach out if you have an interview set up with the manager. You could say, hey, here's a little bit of it about me if you're interested, excited for the interview, and you can give a little bullet points. But looking at everything that we have here, I give a quick look and see. As a nursing student, when you're graduating, when you're applying for a nursing job, I'm already and a mindset of you're graduating from college, so you're smart enough to do that. You clearly are in nursing scope in the nursing field, so you've done your clinicals. Great. I know that there's some things there. Let me see where you did them, and I'll look and see that student nurse clinical experience. I'm just curious if you're working anywhere. There's all these ways that we want to ask as hiring managers how your current work or what you're doing or what you did in the past can apply to your future career and your future position in nursing. Like I said before, you don't need to have healthcare experience aside from nursing school to be a strong, competent, and confident nurse. Some of my best nurses are ones that were bartenders or servers. You know, you have that customer service piece. You can multitask. You can handle work under pressure. I've had nurses who were customer service at like a Dick's Sporting Goods. Okay, that has nothing to do with nursing, but you're doing people interaction. You're working through different challenges. People who work in the food service industry, you know, you're juggling a lot of tasks. You got to follow rules from like your Department of Health to regulate, you know, food temperature and storage of things. These are things that can apply to you in nursing too. And then if there's any awards, recognitions that you have, or any certifications that could apply to success as a new grad or as a nursing position, I look at those too. Having it clear, having it neat, not bogging it down with fancy adjectives. You don't have to pull out a thesaurus to find the biggest word to say, I'm good at this. You know, you can find what is natural in your vernacular, in your conversational language. Because anything you put on here, I'm going to ask you about it. I'm going to see this resume and I'm going to say, oh, tell me what you did at that Mission Community Hospital, an emergency department. Wow, I'd love to hear more about that. And then I'll kind of focus on the specifics of those things. So don't put anything on there that you can't speak to. If you're saying you're highly proficient with skills in PowerPoint or Word, like, great. Tell me the most challenging thing that you might have done and how this would apply to your position. But so just look at things that you're putting on that will be pertinent to the position you're applying for. This is one style of resume. I've seen a bunch of other ones too, where you have a color bar on the side and your name and a professional mission statement, your contact information below it, and then some bullet points on the side. That's fine too. It doesn't need to be in thick cardstock. You don't have to spray perfume on it. You don't have to make it an origami piece that you unfold to look at it. Having it nice, neat, presentable, legible, easy to read, that's the way to do it. Plus, most of the time when you're interviewing with us, your recruiter's already given us a copy digitally of your resume, so we can have that and we can mark it up along the way too. So it's a nice professional snapshot of what we can talk about while we're interviewing.
Excellent. I think I'm back on now.
Yeah, you're here. We got
I
you.
don't know what's going on with my audio today, but I really want to apologize to you guys. I really thank you for your patience too. But other than that, I think this was a really comprehensive overview of what our hiring managers are looking for in candidates, some of the opportunities that we have, and how you can essentially grow your network. And take advantage of resources like LinkedIn that's available to grow your network, connect with people, and get hired. That's what you want at the end of the day, right? You want to get hired. So we're more than happy to connect with you offline. And I know there were a lot of really good questions in the chat. Did we answer all of them? I want to give everyone that opportunity, or feel free to take yourself off of mute if you have some additional questions now.
There's one there from asking where on the resume you should put that you're working towards your master's degree. If you go back a slide there, Farah, under that education part, it doesn't need to be completed education. It could be, put the one that you're currently working on first, working on master's, expected graduation date or expected completion, and give that estimate. It took me 3 years for a master's. You space it out as it is, those advanced degrees, especially now with how much you can do at different paces, it might take a little bit more. So that might be a fluid thing. But if you have it on there, boy, I'd love to talk to you about what your drive is for that, how you think you could balance this your career and your education. So having it in there is nice. It's cool. Yeah.
Awesome. That was a really good question. I know oftentimes people are not sure where to put certain things. I don't think there's really a cookie cutter way. As long as you can, again, clearly explain what you're studying, when you're expected to graduate, as Peter mentioned, that's a-okay with us. And any relevant work experience, If you, as I mentioned, want any awards and honors, that's really where you're showcasing also your value added to an organization, right? If you want an award for something, receive great recommendations from patients who are nominated for something, include that. Again, it shows value added.
Hi.
Any other?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Should I speak?
Yes, go ahead, make it.
Hi. Thank you for asking me about or replying about the education piece for my master's. I also have a question, two questions really. Is it important to keep it to one page? And I noticed for the student clinical experience, they just kind of listed each department they've worked on. So I've been a nurse for 17 years. I've worked in like 4 different departments. And currently I have all the skills kind of from each different department. Should I get rid of those? Because, just to make it like look less busy and to shorten it to one page?
That's such a great question. I know,
Yeah.
and Peter, you can piggyback on that as well from the hiring manager's perspective.
Okay.
Typically, when you have that many years of experience, your resume is going to be longer naturally. Like, you don't have to condense it just for the sake of condensing it. You may have a lot of really good experience that you can include in 3 pages max, if that, but 2 pages is sufficient for that many years of experience.
Yeah, I think sometimes we like I said, overthink that resume a bit, right? Like, oh, it needs to be in one page. I'll format this. I'll make it smaller. Yeah. If you feel it's pertinent, you're going to talk about it. Great. You have 17 years of nursing experience, you said?
Yes.
17 years. So you probably have done and seen just about all those nursing skills that you might need in that time. I don't think that it would be necessarily um, important or a deal breaker that you have every skill that you know how to do listed on there. If you have under nursing experience or healthcare experience, 17 years of working as a nurse in these various fields, and then you could list your most recent ones underneath there, 3 to 4, maybe 5 on a line. I worked ED from this year to that year, med surg this year to that year, and then as a manager or a hiring manager coming in, we could say, hey, wow, 17 years, that's awesome, and you have all these different experiences. Talk to me about them. Let me know some challenges, or how did you progress through it. It gives us that stepping stone to talk about it. Um, Formally, if you want to have a separate, bullet points or like a paragraph of your summary of the time you did at each places in your mind that you could talk about, hey, that's great. It's okay to have something scripted almost to talk about, but you don't have to have it as, a movie script where it's like, oh, they're going to ask me about my last job. At my last job, this is what I did. This is what I was good at. You don't need to read it off of there. We want that conversation. We want to have that personal approach to it all, if that helps.
Great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Great question. We have a few minutes, so about 5 minutes left, and we'll take some additional questions. If the master's degree is different, no experience in the field, how can I appeal more? Look at the chat here.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. This question comes up a good amount where education is, people are hesitant to put it on. Wow, you earned that degree in balancing it through the rest of your life. Speak about it, talk about it. A master's degree, a high level, you don't just get there, graduating high school, and you get a master's degree. You put life experiences and work, blood, sweat, and tears, as the saying goes, and maybe literally, into getting these things done. Put it on there, put it under education. It doesn't have to be specific for the nursing or healthcare specific. If you have a master's degree in microbiology, a business type, an MBA, right? You don't need to have nursing only on there. This is telling us just a snapshot about you, that we can get to know you just a little bit and poke into it more and talk about it. I know you guys probably want to know what the weather is here in Cleveland, Ohio. We're May 18th. We've had a couple of iterations of spring. We had frost last night. It got pretty cold, but we're at a nice 65 degrees here today. Cleveland Clinic main campus here in Cleveland, Ohio. It's a large campus, a lot of buildings, a lot of specialities that we can care for in nursing and other healthcare specific stuff. The community around here has a lot of great places to explore and to move to if you're looking to take advantage of that relocation support and come here to Cleveland. I'm sure we have people from Cleveland who take advantage of that and go down to Florida too. So sometimes doing a little trade is okay as well. Yeah.
I was gonna say I'm a little jealous of the 65-degree weather. It's really hot down here in Florida today. I love the palm trees and all, but but we do have beautiful weather most of the time. So if you're interested in coming down to the Florida market, as I mentioned, we have our Weston Hospital, which is down in the Fort Lauderdale, Miami area. We have Port St. Lucie, which is where I'm located, about 3 campuses near the Port St. Lucie area, all on the East Coast near the beaches. And if you're interested in any opportunities, I saw one person asked about, I think it was a data analytics role. After this meeting, I'll go ahead and drop my contact information as well. So if you're interested in anything other than nursing, more than happy to connect you to one of our other recruiters as well.
Annie, I see that you have mentioned something in the chat about recruiters who reach out on LinkedIn. There is that platform where you're going to have that blast out from people. Oh, you have experience. We're looking for this. Anyone who's got a tag of nursing or this degree or that degree is going to be, looking out for you. I get those too. I get them sometimes from a sister organization or even our own organization sometimes. I work at the clinic. I don't need a job at the clinic. I'm already working here. There is some of that overlap to it, but that's like when Ferris said, you get that personal touch. They can give you something that's more than just a copy and paste into it that says, wow, they looked at my resume or my LinkedIn profile. They looked at some of my history. They're specific on something. Part of the job of the recruiters is to get the right talent to the places that need it. If it's something that interests you, check it out. If it's not, you can just delete it. Unfortunately, there is some of that when it comes to the social media, even from the professional standpoint here. Yeah. And Annie, it looks like you have some good experience there. ICUs, man, that's awesome. That critical care experience is, more power to you. I that's not my cup of tea, but I've developed a lot of nurses through the years that have taken that first step into med-surg, gotten a year, 2, 3 of experience, feeling comfortable in their skin. Now I'm ready to step up into the next part. ICU, go off into a procedural area or same-day surgery or PACU. And so you have that nice progression. Sometimes you just need to fill your pockets with some nursing skills, and you can absolutely get that on like a med-surg type of floor.
All right, we'll take one last question. It always seems like I never get my resume viewed. Is there any ways to really grab the hiring manager or recruiter's attention? And that's going to really depend on what positions you're trying to obtain. Here's what I would like to offer any one of you who need additional resume assistance. More than happy to have a team of our recruiters review your resume before you submit for any position. So I left my email address up top, and I'll include it again. So if you want a second eye or third eye, fourth eye perhaps, feel free to send it over. We're happy to take a look at it to ensure that you're really maximizing your skills, transferable skills, your background experiences, all of that good stuff to make sure that your resume is being seen by recruiters. Other than that, once again, I really want to thank you all for your time. Kirsten, thank you so much. I really couldn't have done this without you. Thank you so much, Peter. I know with all of my audio issues, you really rocked it. So super appreciative.
You say that, and I totally botched that last message in the chat. Let me reformat that so it's not run together. I was trying to get in before the end. No, but anytime, I'll put my email in there too, like Farrah said. If you want us to take a look at anything or you have questions specific for one of us after this time frame here, like we want to be accessible and honestly just to help you along the way, even if it is, and I tell this to everyone, and Farrah, don't tell your bosses this, okay? But I tell this to anyone that I'm talking to that's in the nursing or healthcare field. If it's not working with the Cleveland Clinic, I understand. It's not for everyone here. But if we can help you get your resume and your confidence up to be the strong nurse that you want to be or get you to the position you need to be anywhere, that's awesome. I have family and friends across the United States, across the world. And I just want to have good people caring for them or know that they'll be in good hands if it ever comes that way. So if we can be a part of that step, a part of that journey for you, we'd absolutely, I know I'm speaking for me here. I'm absolutely wanting to make that happen. So thanks again for having us.
Absolutely.
Personally,
yes, thank you both so much. This is wonderful, such good information. I know everybody, like me, sitting here taking notes. But we really appreciate our partnership with Cleveland Clinic. I will be sending out a copy of the recording tomorrow so that if you want to go back and listen to what Peter had to say, you know, about what skills to list on your resume, you can always go back and listen to that again. And thank you all so much and have a wonderful rest of your evening, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Have a great one.
Take care.